Hi, sweetie.
Video.
Oh, let me put myself on mute.
Okay, I think we can go ahead and get started. Oh, of course, one of my devices suddenly wants to restart. Give me 2 seconds.
Hey, Miss Hunter, while you're doing that, I just wanted to let the council know that Miss Ponder was invited and she's on the agenda. There's another meeting going on about advanced placement testing that she's attending. So Miss Kirk, who's our graduation coach, has been kind enough to join us. So she'll be available to answer questions about the extended learning program. And you know, her hands have been in it and she's been working with the kids. And I had a chance to talk to one of the teachers today. So I think we'll have some good information and move forward.
Okay. And so it is 4:03. Do we have someone to take notes? I don't think Dr. Williams is on this call right now. And I can't even find my pen, so I don't know how much good I am. Any volunteers? Okay, then let me go grab a piece of paper real quick. Okay, so it's 4:04 and we will call this meeting to order. So action item, we need to vote to approve this agenda that is on your screen. Are there any members against approving this agenda? Okay, oh wait, I forgot to make a motion.
I motion.
Thank you, second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Miss Hunter, did someone volunteer to take notes? I stepped away for a second.
No, they didn't. Would you mind taking over?
Happy to.
Thank you.
I know I heard the first. Who made the second?
Dylan. Okay, now we vote. Anyone against? Okay. Then just want to remind you the main purpose of this meeting, since we call this like extra meeting, is just to discuss some of the programs that we have options for spending our charter dollars on. So before we get into the information on the extended learning, which was one of the things, then I will go ahead and ask for public comment. And I know, Ms. Hills, you had some public comment. So if you want to go ahead and start, and then we'll see if there's anyone else as well.
Can you guys hear me on there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay, cool. I'm just going to read what I had submitted since I had sort of put my thoughts together there. And this is in regard to the previously approved school governance seed fund money, which is now, I think, called, I can't remember what it's called.
Charter dollars.
Charter, yes, thank you. So I submitted the school governance council seed fund application for funding a speaker to address the entire student body and staff the fall of 2019. This speaker would provide support encouragement tools and methods for improving stress levels, identifying goals, removing obstacles, preventing success, and touching on signs leading up to suicidal tendencies. I submitted this application on behalf of PTSA, Roswell High School PTSA Student Wellbeing Initiative, following 4 Roswell High School student deaths the previous 4 years, 1 murder, 3 suicides. This submission included Dr. Shaw's knowledge and support of the submission, as well as support from our counseling department, our former head counselor, Amy Short, and Roswell High School social worker, Val Rogers. This was submitted on October 1st, 2019. This particular application for $7,500 was ultimately approved in March of 2020. I think that's when it was. I've looked through my notes earlier and I couldn't put my finger on it. I think I was excited and jumping up and down when we got approved, so I didn't write it down. We vetted several speakers who would deliver one assembly to our students, but unanimously agreed Kit Cummings with the POP Club, that's the Power of Peace Project, would be the best opportunity for our Roswell students, as his program encompasses a school year-long club impacting our entire student body one way or the other. Kit Cummings and I met with many community members to raise additional funding for this year-long program, which cost $10,000. I was able to secure $6 grand from the community and got approval to use $4,000 of the approved $7,500 School Governance Council funds to complete the financial obligation. As of last week's School Governance Council meeting, where the budget was discussed, there was no mention of including this already approved money in the budget. Once I realized the current budget vote was for this current school year, I knew I must address this council. We are 3/4 of the way done with this school year, and we cannot wait until next March to go through this voting process again when the POP Club is scheduled to kick off right before school starts this summer, 2021. I implore you to consider adding the $4,000 for student well-being to your budget today. I beg you to think outside of the box on doing so. Let's identify a date we may engage Kit for a virtual address to our students and submit for payment now. This way we are poised to launch as soon as the go-ahead is given by our administration in the way of scheduling and pandemic parameters. Finally, Kit Cummings has been incredibly flexible about moving with every changing climate of on or off or left or right or up or down. We have a very unique opportunity right now to impact our students in a myriad of positive methods through the POP Club at Roswell High School. Will you please vote the $4,000 back into today's budget for our students? One other topic I want to bring up. Is that time? Sorry. Okay, one other thing I wanted to mention is that our Roswell High School PTSA has 2 academic support scholarship business partners this year. If you guys could get me some information on your needs for tutoring students, I'm happy to ask them for some support to get to you guys, to the teachers, to help our students that are in need. I'm sure they'd be willing on some level, and maybe we can come to some agreement that they could help you out. But until I know what you're looking for, I'm not willing to make the ask. So if I could just continue to ask for some information, that would be terrific. Thank you for hearing me out on that. This is a really important initiative for our school community.
Ms. Hunter, may I ask a question?
It's on our agenda to talk about later on. So are you talking about the mental health thing? Ms. Drake?
Oh, I was going to ask Lee if she had something in writing, because that was a lot for me to take notes from.
I'll tell you what, Ms. Trigg, Ms. Hills was kind enough to submit it. We're really not supposed to go back and forth with the public comment speakers, but she was kind enough to submit it via the form because I was a little worried that teams wouldn't cooperate. So I will gladly shoot that to the council, and you'll have, as a matter of fact, I can do it right now.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Okay, and Dr. Shaw, did you have any other public comment, or is there anyone else here for public comment?
No, I don't have anything other than I introduced Ms. Kirk already.
Okay.
And, you know, I know that the item that Ms. Hills referenced is on the agenda, so we can certainly talk about that when we get to it. So that sounds great.
Okay.
Yep, thank you, ma'am.
Then the main thing we wanted to discuss was the information on the extended learning program. So Ms. Kirk, if you don't mind, I know we have some questions, but I thought if you could start with just a general summary of really what this extended learning program is doing right now, that would be helpful.
Hi there. So the extended learning program right now is offering students who earned an incomplete for first semester an opportunity to recover their credit. the students are working with an extended learning facilitator teacher, and that person is basically gathering up the resources that the kid needs. So they're talking to the teachers in their classes, the teacher of record, and getting that information and then giving it back to the kid and making sure they know that, they have this opportunity to basically complete the assignments. They're helping them with the assignments if the kids request it. And helping facilitate the conversation between the kids and the student and the teachers, and making sure that the process is moving along. The kids have until March 31st to complete the work. And so that's the extended learning program.
Okay. And Dr. Shaw, so that's the program we're talking about funding, correct?
Well, yes. So, and Naomi, jump in here if I mess this up or state something incorrectly. I think one of the things that we've been asking ourselves is, okay, we've got this money. We feel this clear and incompletes is an important initiative. How do we join the two? And that's been more problematic, I think, than maybe we would have envisioned. And I spoke to one of the teachers today, and she said the issue is just simply time. It's not a money need; it's a time need. It's when you think about, to what Ms. just explained, you have one student. Now that one student has 6 classes. And if they have 4 incompletes in each one of those classes, now everything just kind of increases exponentially. So I guess, Ms. Kirk, you and I talked a little bit this morning. I don't know where an investment could be made of financial resources to support this program more than we already have. I think I mentioned to the council before that we have 8 great teachers doing it, but I don't know if there's a 9th or 10th. I don't know if, I think we have a time limit on when this has to be done. So even if we were to say, hey, we'll buy more hours or more time, I don't know if that would be beneficial. But, Ms. Kirk, I'll let you address that if you can think of anywhere where we could plug in some money to support this work.
In truth, the biggest issue that the teachers are seeing, I'm seeing, Ms. Ponder, is its engagement. So I think this morning you had mentioned one of the ideas was hiring outside tutors, but the issue isn't necessarily that, a manpower one. It really boils down to being an issue of engagement, and how to get the kids to engage with us is really the issue.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'll tell you, Ms. Kirk, there's been some other ideas floated. I don't remember if it was in this meeting or if it was, outside of this meeting, but, maybe something to incentivize the kids to come. And then there's limits on that because we can't really do with this money, fun stuff or pizza parties or anything like that. So that idea kind of went away. So, even incentivizing the kids is problematic because there's not a whole lot we can do. I mean, the idea of the money is really to be spent on academic needs or support programs. So, that's where we kind of ran into a wall, and that's why we wanted your expertise, because I don't really know what the next steps are, to be honest with you.
Okay. And Naomi, how many students are we talking about with this?
For extended learning, I'll be honest with you, I can't give you the exact number. The number of incompletes is around 700 for extended learning. That doesn't include the kids doing incomplete recovery.
Okay. And many of these kids, I'm assuming, have multiple classes that they're filling incompletes for?
So yeah, so that's why I can't give you that number of the students, because there are kids who have anywhere between 1 and 6 to do.
Okay. So does anyone else have any questions before we move on to, I guess, discussion? So I guess the discussion is, does it sound like this is something that would, I mean, for the most part, it sounds like the money's not going to do anything, especially with the couple of weeks that we have left. So do we want to keep trying to figure this out, or do we want to move towards something else, I guess would be the question. Anyone have thoughts?
I mean, I think the only thing we could look at is anything that it could be used for next year, because some of these kids won't get the incompletes done, but then I guess, Dr. Shaw, do they turn to a failure at the end of this year?
They turn into a WF, which is it's not a numeric failure, so it's on a 0 or a 20 or whatever, but they don't get credit for the course.
And so then they just take the whole course over again?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and
That adds up them.
the other issue with that, I'm sorry, go ahead, Naomi. Was I wrong? Go ahead.
I just had a question. When they have to take it over again next year, are we talking, do they have the option, like in the building, Fulton virtual or Gavs? Like, did they have that choice?
As with any student who's registering for courses, yeah, they can take up to 3 virtual courses. So yes, ma'am, they could.
Or they could be in the learning lab, right?
Well, they're taking the whole course over again, so I don't know. Naomi, do you know? Can they? Or I thought the learning lab was just recovery.
So the information that we've been given from the county is that for an incomplete, a kid cannot be placed into the lab. However, as of right now, what we know is going to happen, this March 31st deadline is for the schools, but the incomplete doesn't change to a WF until July. I believe that is when the county wants the kids to actually do summer school to try to, to recover the credit as another option for them if they don't do it during before the March 31st school deadline. After that, it becomes a WF. I imagine a WF is looked at as the actual kid attempting the class. As far as Gavs and Georgia Credit Recovery, they consider it that the kid has done the seat hours, and they welcome them to actually use the lab as an option, but it's the county approving it is where we need to kind of wait and see.
Okay.
So Dr. Shaw, these kids are going to be funneled into summer school. Is that something then that's going to come out of the budget? Because we talked about that, like what you were calling tuition last year. Is that somewhere that we could put the money towards the tuition for that? Yeah. Or
the district is funding summer school. That won't impact us.
They won't. Okay, so they'll fund all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. But I do want to address what Ms. Pettit said, about putting the money towards next year. That's kind of the hurdle we run into with the Power of Peace project is, right. We got to get this money spent this year. We can't roll it over. We're going to lose it. There was some question about that because of some wording in some of the financial documents, but Brenda did some checking, and it's going to go away. So we do want to get that squared away. So again, I'm at a loss for where to put this dollars if we're still focused on really getting these incompletes cleared.
So I have a question. It's Kirsten Ponick.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so thinking about the incompletes and it's a matter of engagement. So, okay, what about using the money for, and don't shoot me. I know we're still brainstorming and we're supposed to be finding a solution, but would Saturday school be an option for the kids who are interested? And we kind of would have to gauge that somehow with parental, finding out if the parents are interested in it as well. And then using that money to hire teachers on a Saturday to help clear the incompletes for the kids who are interested, or no?
Well, and I guess we're still looking at that time. Does that still give them enough time before the 31st to get the work done? Because there's only so much they can do in one day. I mean, Naomi, what do you think?
If Saturday school is an option, I think it would be a great idea to at least have the kids, have access to somebody to provide some additional support, encouragement while they're doing it. But again, it's the issue is if they're not coming during the week.
Is it mainly the kids that are virtual?
That was my question. Is it the virtual kids that make up the bulk of this, or are there kids that are in the building?
It's both, but the
Okay.
virtual kids are a bigger
Yeah.
chunk of it.
Right. Like, it's too bad you can't buy food because it would be like, hey, we'll feed you Chick-fil-A breakfast and you can come work on your stuff. Like, that would be an incentive, but
Food is the motivator.
yeah, it sure is. But they won't, I guess we can't do that.
I feel like teachers would be willing, like if you knew you had 4 kids who were coming on a Saturday to work on physical science and you said to a physical science teacher, we need you on a Saturday, this is how much you would make an hour, then that might be a draw for the teacher to do it after hours, if that's allowed. And then if we know, because we've sent out a survey, that the kid is committed to coming, then could that work? Or, I mean,
But does it have to be done by March 31st? Though?
right. I mean, and how hard is that? I mean, is the cement set on what the county is saying with that? Or are they going to go back and say, oh, okay, we've got so many incompletes now, we're going to extend the deadline till,
Again, yeah.
So I can tell you that just from experience, in the fall, they did the same thing for the spring incompletes. They set that November 30th deadline, and it was a hard deadline. If they didn't meet, that 80% requirement by that time, that was it. And so I believe that they're going to stick to this March 31st deadline as well.
Hey, can I add one piece? Because I think the Saturday school idea has some merit to it. Now, we can't use governance council money to buy food, but we can use school local dollars to buy food for kids. So, if we had however many kids committed to coming, we could use the flex dollars to pay for the teachers, and then the school could buy the pizza or whatever we decide to do. So that's certainly an option that we could make work. I don't know if you're going to get to, what is the amount again, Laura? $30,000?
It's a little less than that, but
Okay.
I don't think.
Yeah, even if we put aside some for the Power of Peace project, which I know we're going to talk about,
Yeah.
I don't know if you're going to spend $24,000 on a Saturday on teachers. It'd be nice. It'd be a great problem to have, but
I'll do it.
I'll do it.
Yeah, there you go.
I'll do it.
All right, we're good. We got it. We need more money. Okay, excellent.
Well, question, if we're talking Saturday school, we couldn't also do food as an incentive, because then transportation is an issue, right?
Transportation.
Well, we have SGC money. We could probably spend it on a sweet bus for Saturday. Do you think, Dr. Shaw, with a sweet bus?
We've had limited success, but while I'm sitting here, I can shoot our transportation supervisor and ask her if it's even possible. So let me do that right now.
Okay. So, I mean, is this something that we could, if we go ahead and vote today to say, hey, we're going to put aside, I don't know, $10,000 towards this. I mean, Naomi, I don't want it to completely fall on you if all of a sudden you have to organize a Saturday school, but is that something that you think, if we get a group together and a committee together, that we could get it done in time?
I think that with the right communication and getting that information out to the students and the families, definitely, I think it definitely could work.
Also, would there be an option to do a remote Saturday school as well?
We would have to offer it.
That's what I thought.
So I would think that even, I mean, if we're talking about a pretty small scale as to, the groupings of teachers meet in their individual classrooms and things like that, I would think that some of those remote students might be a little more willing to come in. Does that, anyone agree or no?
Maybe not.
Maybe. Okay.
Yeah.
But I think teachers could still set up a virtual meeting. And if we just had a listing of this teacher here's a link to a virtual meeting with the teacher, pop in throughout the day or something, that might still work. The food's not an incentive there, but at least they know someone's working at the time.
Yeah.
Because I know I was getting emails at 6 o'clock last night from a teacher and a student who was trying to clear an incomplete, and I wasn't checking my email at 6 o'clock last night. So if they can have a time where they know a teacher is sitting there working, then I think that would be helpful. So do we want to go ahead and say and try this? I'm hearing an echo all of a sudden. And say we'll try this and put $10,000 aside to this and vote on it, and then if it comes around to our next meeting in April, or I guess really the end of this month, and it hasn't happened, then we can see what else we can come up with. Or
Laura, I think it's worth giving it a shot. So yeah,
definitely.
it may not, pan out the way we would like it to, but I think it's worth trying.
okay, then I don't know. Can I make a motion? Okay.
Before you do that, Laura, before somebody proposes a vote, one other thing that we could do that has been done before is take this money and pay a teacher to organize it, because I'm thinking through the logistics, and Naomi's hands are full and admin's full. But if there was a teacher who was willing to, at least just for the next 2 weeks, to take on the logistics of making this happen, we could pay the teachers to come, but we could also pay somebody who's willing to organize it all. So I'm just throwing that out there as well.
That's great.
Okay.
I love that idea. I think that's a great idea.
That's great.
Mm-hmm. And we could even just send out an email tomorrow saying, hey, who's willing to kind of take this on, and see what we get.
Yep.
Okay. I have no concept of like what the cost would be as far as the scope of things, but does like $10,000 sound like a amount? Or I don't know if Dr. Shaw and Naomi, like how much does it cost to pay a teacher? Like what are we?
The standard is at $28 an hour, right?
It's $28 an hour. So, if $10,000 is probably way more and above than you would need. Now, I just emailed Ms. Snow that, the buses, when you think about even field trips, those can be pretty expensive.
Yeah.
So if we ran 2 or 3 for a suite bus, which, we run 2 Monday through Thursday anyway, so the routes are already there. And then if we were to pay 8 teachers, hypothetically $28 an hour times 8, you're up to almost $2,000 there, plus another teacher to kind of organize it all. So I think 10,000 is more than good, probably much more than we need, but we'll see how it goes.
Are we thinking about limiting it to just the 8 teachers who have been originally working with these students, or expanding it to, I don't know, like 1 person per department to be an extra resource or something like that?
I would strongly recommend you extend this to other teachers. I'm overwhelmed, but those 8 teachers are also their hands are pretty tied too. So I think definitely open it up. You have people here who are like, oh yeah, I'll commit to a Saturday. So I think you'll definitely get a positive response if you open it up to the other staff members.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was leaning towards too. So at least 8 teachers at a minimum, but if we could get 20 or 30, that would be amazing too.
You're only talking about a Saturday. It's not a, it's
Yeah.
not a lifelong commitment. So I think we would have a number of staff who would be willing to jump up and do it.
It would only be 1 Saturday?
Yeah. Well, we're running out of time. My question is, how would you figure out how many kids were going to come before you got because it would be a real shame to, I guess it wouldn't matter, but you'd pay 30 teachers to be there and have 6 kids show up. That would stink. So how, how can we gauge the kids' investment in coming?
I thought Kirsten said to send out a survey or form, a Microsoft Forms, to have them fill out and say, I'm coming.
Yeah.
I thought I heard that. I'm sorry.
Sign up and then
Laura, I'm not sure what
teachers.
Right, what the order of events would be in that case, but y'all.
Well, and Jenny, in my administrator hat, I think the person that offers to get paid to organize this will have some wonderful solutions to those problems.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too.
So, we have the
Sounds good, Dr. Shaw. Sounds good.
Right. There's the principal in me. Well, we'll delegate that and they'll come up with a great idea.
Okay, well then, do we have a motion to approve, let's say $10,000 for a Saturday school for clearing incompletes?
I'll make a motion.
Okay, who was that?
It's Ponick, Kirsten.
Okay, thank you. And a second?
Trigg.
Okay. And then vote. So is there anyone against? Okay, then that motion passes. And let me switch over my shared screen real quick because I did have a couple of other things to discuss, but that was our big one. So we're moving through. Where did I put my updated document? Sorry. And Naomi, we're probably good if you need to leave. The rest of it won't have as much to do with you, but you're welcome to stay.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys.
No, I appreciate you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Naomi.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Let me switch to my other screens. Let me share, maybe. Okay, so this is my updated notes of sharing, and I don't know if it's actually sharing or not. Can y'all?
It's not.
I still see the agenda. I don't know why. Well, let me switch back over to this device. Now is it sharing?
Not yet. Oh,
I can
yes.
see it.
Okay. So this is the updated version of that, kind of just my notes on things. And so one thing that should be a quick discussion is we did get one more application for funds, and it was from Mr. Phillips for buying new 3D printers for a 3D printing lab that he is creating. I guess at this point, they're basically working off of reconditioned printers from other schools. And so he would like to buy some new ones to supplement what they have, and that would be about $1,900. Does anyone have questions about that or discussions? Or Ms. Trigg, you followed up with him. Did you get any additional information?
Yes, he sent the justification in relative to the strategic plan.
Okay. Oh, and actually here, just back. Let me switch to that one too.
Maybe I sent that. I thought I forwarded that. If
You
not,
did. I actually have it right here. I just
no worries.
Switching back and forth between documents here. Okay, so this was his application. Right there is the summary as far as exactly what he wants or needs. So 10 3D printers, about $180 a piece. So that would be about $1,800. And so I'm trying to think. Where did you say? So how it would improve the strategic plan. So yes. It's part of undergraduate and graduate programs at many universities. It's used for modeling in areas such as fine arts, object creation, business, for digital literacy, mechanical engineering. So lots of different areas it can be used for. It's something that would be unique to Roswell and compared to other schools in the district. And what else is he saying here? Anyone see anything else?
Community connection.
Oh yeah, community connections. He's working with Kennesaw State University as well. And it would be something that would be open to not just art students, but students in other programs as well. So any thoughts on this?
I spoke with Matt Phillips about these printers when he first, drafted this. And there's so much you can do with them. And I mean, really, it can move into a lot of different areas, a lot of different subjects. And he wants to kind of make them available for use throughout different departments. So it's not just restricted to the art department. and considering what these printers can do, I think it's a great idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree. I talked with him about it as well, and Matt Phillips' energy, like there really are no bounds to these printers. Like once they get in his hands, he'll work with any kid. So
He's actually worked with our tag kids before too, and done seminars all on his own on 3D printing. So I know he's kind of taken that on beyond just the art department already. And that was before, when we only had one and it was extremely old. So do we have a motion to devote $1,900 to the 3D printing farm for Mr.
I'll make a
Phillips?
motion. I'll make a
Okay.
motion. This is Lindsay.
Lindsay in a second.
Kirsten will second.
Okay, and so let's vote. Do we agree to devote $1,900 towards Mr. Phillips and the 3D printing farm? Anyone against? Okay.
Who was the
Then
second, please?
It was Ponic.
Oh, okay.
Then that passes as well. And so that leaves us, let me go back to my other document again. So to discuss the mental health proposal and the speaking. And so first of all, I wanted to apologize because this was on my list to talk about last week and it never made it to my typed list. So it was something we meant to discuss as well. And I think where we are is that it's already been voted on, actually $7,500. But the money was never spent. Officially, we never voted to not spend that money. So as of right now, that money has still been voted on being spent. It was, I think Miss Verinda did remove it from the listings, even though we had never discussed that. So it's not included in that approximately, I guess, 2,500, though now we're down to like 13,000 left. So I guess where we are is that we need to kind of figure out a timeline to figure out if we can figure out how to pay for it this year. And so I'm not really sure that we have answers for what we can do with it right now. As of right now, that money's already been assigned.
And can I jump in? So, yeah, so, obviously Miss Munker and I put a hold on the money because, just from a basic morality standpoint, I can't pay for services that are not being delivered, right? So we put the stop on it, emailed with Mr. Cummings, Kit Cummings, and he totally understood. To Ms. Hill's point, he couldn't have been more accommodating. And I'm sure we're not the only school that's going through ups and downs with coronavirus. Now, one of the things that I spoke with Ms. Hills today before this meeting, she mentioned that she had already raised $6,000. And naturally, the people who gave her the money are at some point going to say, hey, listen, when are we going to see this speaker? When are we going to see this program? So that's a big part of it for sure. I want to emphasize that, having met with Mr. Cummings a couple of times, one time in person before the pandemic, and having this been something that's proven at other schools, I'm behind it. I support it. I think when it was first presented to the council, and I think there was some different members, I might be wrong on that timeline. I think the council supported it. The issue really now is this. So this year's money has to be spent on this year's kids, and there's a very firm dividing line of July 1, right? That's when the old fiscal year ends, the new fiscal year begins. So, what Ms. Hills and I kind of came down to was, okay, so if the council decided to put the $4,000 towards Power of Peace, what do we get for that $4,000 between March 3rd and June 30th? So obviously the original idea was a speaking engagement of some kind. So then you get into the conversation of when. And it occurred to me earlier, and I haven't flushed this out, that we do have that ACT day. Now it's only a half day. Is that something kids would engage in the afternoon if they're not here? If we did it in the morning, the ninth graders are in the building, but the juniors, a lot of juniors are taking the ACT, and the seniors and the sophomores maybe not engaged. I'm very aware of the point Ms. Hills made about trying to get this done this year. We need to spend the money, but I'm also, we're already, our teachers especially, are looking at the calendar, and there's not a whole lot of time left to teach the curriculum they need to teach. So taking a whole day to do an asynchronous presentation probably wouldn't work. So that's kind of the conundrum is, all right, we got this $4,000. We all believe in the project. How do we spend it this year for a deliverable, if I could use that word, for this year for our kids that's going to fulfill what the council voted on? So I hope I explained that pretty well. I meandered a little bit, but I hope that makes sense.
Dr. Shaw, would the day before spring break be an option? Since it's already kind of a difficult day to get some instruction across?
It sure would. I think your AP teachers get very nervous because, basically we come back from spring break and testing starts soon after, but it certainly is an option for sure. Listen, we before the pandemic, we would pull the kids out of class to do, especially on PSAT day, right? We would pull them out of class to do a program of some type. So it's not unheard of. I mean, there's a precedent that's set. And it would have to be done remotely. So I don't know what that looks like. Are those kids, sitting in their classroom looking at Kit Cummings on their tablet? I guess it'd have to be, right? So that's part of it as well.
Well, and I mean, in the past, we've done that that basketball game, and I'm assuming we're not going to do that pep rally thing. And
Right.
So is there some way to turn that into an event to replace that? I don't know. Maybe that's a question for student council as well, but I think where we are is that the money's still there right now. We just need to try and figure out what we can do with it as far as this year.
We're not planning on having a basketball game that I know of. I know that someone asked, I don't know if Lauren talked to you, Dr. Shaw, but one of our staff members asked if we could do it in this just live stream it or whatever. I was like, I don't think we're gonna have teachers volunteering to do it. It's just
no. I think
no.
Jenny, this is a little sideways of the council right now, but because that is a memorial to somebody, and my feeling is if we're not going to do it classy and first rate, let's not do it.
That was my right. So that was my answer too. And I told Lauren, I said you can talk to Dr. Shaw to get a definitive answer, but I just think it's not. We should not do. The kids want to do a spirit week that week, and that's fine. I am a little I don't care at all. It doesn't bother me when we do it or what we do, but the kids do want to do a Hawaiian day that Friday. So I want to be, I don't know, I don't know what the word is. I don't know if we want to give everybody lays and make it all fun and then be here, listen to this about mental health. So how to weigh that and have it all work that week.
Well, I think
it's up to y'all.
I'm sure Ms. Hills is chomping at the bit to speak. I don't know. But, Kit's presentation is very positive and it is uplifting. And I don't know the timeline on this. I guess, Laura, you're the chair of the council. Are we okay to setting a precedent here and letting Lee kind of unmute so she can answer some of these questions? Because I know this is something that she's spoken. Are you guys okay with that?
It's fine with me.
Okay. So Ms. Hills, you want to jump on, I guess? Because I know this is something we got to get rectified. I think Kit's presentation is positive and uplifting, Jenny. I don't think it's. I hear what you're saying for sure.
Well, yeah, I didn't know, and I don't want to.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? I don't want to diminish his presentation either by being, the kids all being goofy and wilding that day or whatever. Of course, no one's doing much wilding anyway, but.
Right. And I don't know how much time, for the $4,000, and I think Ms. Hills could address it. I don't know how much time we'd get with him, how long a presentation would keep the kids engaged. So, Ms. Hills, you're welcome to jump in on this.
Okay. I feel with 2,000% confidence, I can say this to you, and you all can take this money to Kit's bank, and he will deliver. With the $10,000 to implement the Pop Club for 1 year. He will speak every day, every half hour, every week, or one time within that. He said he is committed to do whatever it takes, however it happens, and he's at our disposal. He'll change his curriculum based on what sort of high tide, low tide, no tide we have at Roswell High School. He's willing to meet with our counselors. He's willing to meet with Dr. Shaw. He's willing to meet with Ben Suter. If we've got a subset of students that need some serious addressing on the sidelines, he'll add that to his curriculum. I don't know how I got this lucky to be involved in this and have somebody of this kind of integrity and commitment. I really don't know, but I'm not ready to let go of it. And my thinking creatively pitch to you all today is if there's a way we can come up with something that would benefit our kids right now. Let's park pop in next school year and talk about what would benefit our kids right now. He will craft something, run it up the flagpole with you, Dr. Shaw, and whomever else you feel is appropriate to run that in front of, and address something, anything, all things, some things right now. Get the check submission or the PO requested so that he can be paid. That offer of speaking engagements goes through another school year. So that's where I was hoping we could have a bonus round with this, where we can get the paperwork taken care of, get the money taken care of, get a speaking engagement. And what I mentioned hopefully you all have or will get what I typed up, and I'm happy to send it to any of you, what I said earlier. Oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought. But he's willing to do whatever he needs to do right now that you all as administrators deem necessary right now, and then we can roll on into the next school year. Behind the scenes, I'm already courting people for the following year, but that's another thing down the road. But he's available. He's ready and willing to go for it. I don't know. Tell what questions or reservations, and don't be afraid of me. Just ask. If I don't know the answer.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So he's willing to do whatever we want, but what do we need? Is there something specific he's offering so that it's not $4,000? That's something that's we're not sure what it's going to be. Is there something to land on? There aren't any of the students, I'm sorry, like compound questions. Are there any of our student council on this call?
I don't see
I
any.
don't think so.
I'm wondering, what would be useful?
Well, Darlene, let me also tell you, and I probably didn't do a good job explaining this in my public comment, the speakers that I was courting at the beginning of this engagement in order to turn in an estimate of what we were asking for to pay for an assembly, basically. Mm-hmm. The going rate of the folks that we got really close to was $7,500 to speak to our student body one time. And then I talked both of the two that we narrowed it down to do 2 assemblies back to back, identical, because we can't fit but half the student body in the auditorium the gym at one time. And then I also had asked them to let us do a live stream for parents. I'm going to assume staff that might be in their classroom, me as a parent, I would like to see what my kids are, if I'm saying, I can never make a meeting, well, let's make it available. So they were all willing to do that, but that was a one-hit wonder for $7,500. And so I was beating the bushes asking anybody that would listen. Do you know anybody? Do you know a motivational speaker? Someone that's had a touch on student well-being, depression, anxiety, stress, suicide. And we came up with the mindset, let's not start with suicide. Let's start with what began that process. So this is a whole culture shift. So when you say what is that thing or what do we need, what we have learned through the recent signs of suicide, over 1,300 students, since it was disseminated school-wide this year, which is awesome. 1,300 students out of 2,022 participated, and some, I don't know the real numbers, but Val told me between 50 and 60 students reached out for help. When I told my daughter that, who's a senior, she goes, "That's not right, Mommy. That's not it." And I'm like, "What do you mean?" She goes, "It's at least double that. Only half. You only got half of the people that are dealing with this right now." And I think it's even greater than that. I don't know. I'm not a shrink. I'm just a crazy mom, but I do know that there are kids, and these are all over the place. Some are stressing out about a test. Some are stressing out about a girlfriend. Some are stressing out about things at home, and some are stressing out about school. So there's and the pandemic.
So question, so is there, how long was the assembly? That's the question.
Yes. So a few years back, following unfortunate loss in our student body, we had a gentleman come and speak. Dr. Shaw, help me out. I've forgotten his name right off the top of my head. But he came and spoke to our freshmen and sophomores during one class period. So it was about a 45-minute presentation, and then he tuned it up a little more with a little more info to the juniors and seniors in the next period. And the sophomores and freshmen drifted a little bit after, from what I understand, after about 35 minutes, the juniors and seniors were in tears. Having their classmates in the same room with them, hearing what this gentleman was talking about, having a son who took his life. This is a star football player, an academic champion, all around great guy, and this young man took his own life. So this gentleman, why can I not think of his name?
Jim Troutwine.
Thank
And
you.
Yeah,
That's what it was.
he's a
Okay.
baseball
actually,
player.
he came out the next year and actually spoke to the staff, and it was pretty powerful.
Yeah.
He's got a compelling story. And so Kit doesn't come from having lost a child, but he comes from a place of working with a lot of students and a lot of adults in prisons and not in prisons, and even across different countries. He's just felt led to do that and help others. And with his experience, he brings a lot to the table. So he can give us some suggestions if that would help. I know we're all grasping. What is the answer? What can we do to make a difference? And I think he does have some great suggestions. And I think if we did, I mean, I yield to you guys. You're the teachers, you know.
I guess my question too is, if we pay that $4,000 now, does that cover us? Because you talked about starting this club next year. Does that cover through next year as well? And we just started it, or would next year we need to come back and hire him again?
Oh, well, we are parked on paying for next year, and he has been working with us all this school year already, and he's committed to that. Because I talk about the money and death all the time. You know, what's your funeral plan and how much does it cost? So I said, how comfortable are you just being on the hook? I can't finish the payment yet. And he said, I'm all yours. He was writing a book this year. It was easy for him to do that for us, and he wanted to. My loophole pitch to you all is, if we can go under the guise of hiring this, I know I'm being recorded, go under the guise that we're hiring a speaker, which we would. It would be Kit. We craft what we feel like would be a good message to our students. An attaboy, attagirl, you can finish, let's do it. This is what you should concentrate on this summer about being a contributor to your community. I'm just talking off the top of my head. And then that $4,000 is already parked and paid. It'll take 30 plus days to get that in his pocket. If we submit the day after his virtual engagement, we're paid up for next year. So, and then I would like to talk again about this next year to see as it's playing out, and next year's school governance council is talking about next school year's budget, if school governance feels like it's a worthy cause to invest any money in. But I feel like it's great. I could be proven wrong. I don't think I will. I'm already looking for contributors for the following school year. I think once this thing kicks off, it's going to be a powerful impact on our student body. I think it's going to capture a lot of different kids that want to be part of the process of making it a better place.
Well, let me jump in. So to Laura's point, the money's already allocated. I think instead of, and Ms. Hills, you just kind of hit on it, instead of sitting here trying to rack our brain, because again, just from a basic accountability standpoint, there needs to be a deliverable this year. Why don't we, knowing now where we are, knowing that the money's there, maybe we set up another meeting and we ask him that question and say, look, given the parameters of, we can't put kids in a room, we've got testing coming up, we got to get this done between now and the end of May. What do you think you could do that we could really, one, first and foremost, benefit our kids, but two, give us some bang for our buck this school year? So does that, if the council's okay with that, Ms. Hills, I know you probably have it scheduled before we turn off the lights tonight, but we could certainly do that. I'm fine with that.
And I want to say, this isn't Lee Hills. I mean, this is Lee. You're looking at Lee, but this is about our kids and our staff. I mean, I feel like we've got a really, really good opportunity right here. I usually don't put myself out unless I believe in it, and that's my style of sales. So.
Well, and I agree, and I think the other part that he touches on are also making good choices. And so if we think about that girl in Johns Creek who just died a couple of weeks ago, we have just as many that don't have the same accountability because of the pandemic. So I think that there are lots of different things that he's going to touch on that are, if we didn't do this, we would regret it.
Okay, so I think we're at the point where the money's there. We just need to figure out what we can do with it this year. And if we get to next month or the month after and we can't figure out how to spend that money this year, then we can come back and kind of revisit any type of discussion. But I think we're all still for it. We just need to figure out what's possible in the middle of a pandemic and at the same time use our money that the Fulton County is giving us. So I think that's where we are right now. But I just want to make sure we all realize that the school governance is still completely for this and that money is still there. It hasn't gone away. It's just kind of in limbo as we figure out what we can do with it.
Right, and just to reiterate, so everybody understands, you know, we can't send money to somebody and not get a service for it. So that's why we put a stop on it, because we just didn't know the original plan, you know, blew up pretty fast. So that's kind of where we were. But, you know, Ms. Hills, if you want to reach out to him and work with Susan, I mean, we can do something before this week is over, early next week, and I'm fine with it.
Okay.
Let's see what he comes up with. Let him solve the problem, right?
Okay. And does anyone else have any other ideas for? I still have other ideas on here, but I think we've discussed a lot today. But keep reaching out to teachers. We do still have probably. I mean, we'll figure out once we get the Saturday school thing together, but probably another few thousand left as we move into the end of the year. So anything that you can think of, just let us know. If you reach out to any teachers and can get any, I guess, applications, then we'll move on from there. But I think we've made some, oh yeah, go ahead.
Mr. Phillips mentioned that he wants the 3D printer farm much larger than it is. He's asking for 10 because he didn't know how far he could go.
And I had originally told him that we just didn't know how much was there. When I talked to him, yes, there's something we could do. We're just not, there's other things that we kind of really are focused on that we would like to figure out first. And so I think if we get to the point at the end of the year where we haven't really made those decisions, that we could go back to him and he will definitely help us spend some money. At this point is where we are. But if you hear of anything else, then please reach out to either Darlene or I, and we can figure out what's going on or what we can do. But otherwise, I guess, let me see, double check my agenda. But so we voted to spend the money for Mr. Phillips on his initial one, and then for the Saturday school that we can hopefully pull together. And otherwise, we will come back to the mental health at our next meeting. Is there anything else you can think of for our next meeting?
Are we having Mr. Cummings to speak, or I know Lee, you're going to talk to him? What are the next steps? We'll
just get an update as far as what they have been able to figure out at that point, and kind of address, if we're going to be able to spend that money or not.
Or I can put it in an email. As soon as we sit down, I can let you guys know. Here's a plan that we came up with, and let's keep you all abreast of what's going on that way.
Okay. And so our next meeting is on, just a sec, I had that on one of my papers, the 24th. So at the end of the month, since we kind of added this extra meeting in. Otherwise, I would say we can vote to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
There you go, Dylan. A second?
I'll second.
Okay. Then I guess we're voting to adjourn the meeting. Anyone against? Okay, then thank you guys.
All right, thanks everybody. Appreciate it.
Otherwise, we're good. We will see you on the 24th.
Thanks for the extra time.
Bye.
Bye, y'all.